You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. I sat down in my office, my phone still trembling in my hand from the argument with Megan. My heart was still pounding, and I had the sick feeling that something much worse was coming. I needed answers, so I called Sandra, Megan's mother. I didn't know if she could change anything, but I figured I might as well try. Maybe, just maybe, she could talk some sense into her daughter. The phone rang twice before Sandra's voice came through the line, too upbeat for the situation. Hello? Sandra, it's me. I need to talk. About Megan. A beat of silence. I could almost hear the calculation on the other end. What's going on? She's going on a date with another man tonight. She told me I need to accept it. I need you to talk to her. Make her understand that this is wrong. There was a long pause, too long. I felt my blood pressure rising as she didn't answer right away. I don't know if you understand, but this is what she needs. It's normal for women like her, Sandra finally said, her tone even, almost rehearsed. Normal? What do you mean by that? She's my wife. We've been together for 7 years. You should focus on being a good provider, son. She's always had her outlets. She said outlets like she was talking about a hobby. I could feel my fists clenching, my jaw tightening. Outlets? She's cheating on me, Sandra. What the hell kind of advice is that? She's not cheating. She's keeping the marriage fresh. It's all part of the deal, you know? Her father had to accept it, and so will you. I stared at the phone, stunned. I had no idea how to respond to that. Her father? Had he really accepted it? Wait, what? Her father? He just... What? Let her do whatever she wanted? Sandra chuckled softly, the sound of her dismissiveness curling through the phone. Well, he didn't like it at first, but eventually he came around. He realized that Megan needs what she needs. And, well, it didn't affect the big picture. She was always loyal to him in the long run. She added it like it was nothing. I swallowed hard, trying to hold myself together. It was clear now. Both Megan and Sandra saw me as nothing more than a cash machine and a steady figure in the background. They were both so wrapped up in their own view of what a marriage should be that they were completely blind to the fact that I was still human. So what? I'm supposed to just keep providing while she does whatever she wants with other men? My voice was a little more biting than I intended. Well, that's how it works, Sandra said, voice dropping into a more comforting tone, as if she were offering me a secret. It's temporary. These men don't last. They're just fun for her. What's important is you. You're the stability. She'll always come back to you. I let the silence hang in the air, the weight of her words settling in. Stability. That was what she thought I was. Just the guy who paid the bills, filled in the blanks when it was convenient. I had sacrificed my entire life, and for what? So they could keep treating me like I was a footnote in Megan's life? I rubbed my eyes, trying to stave off the anger that was threatening to bubble up again. You don't get it. She's my wife, not some thing she can play with. This isn't about me being stable for her. This is about me being her partner, and she's throwing it away. Sandra sighed, as though she were speaking to a child. I understand your frustration, but, Ethan, if you want to keep this marriage, you're going to have to be okay with the way things work. Trust me, you don't want to fight this. Megan's loyalty is to you, in the big picture. She'll always come back to you, but you need to accept her needs. Accept what she has to do to feel alive. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. What she was saying, what they both were saying, was that I didn't matter beyond what I could give. If I wanted to keep Megan, I had to put up with the fact that she needed to feel alive. And as long as I kept playing my role, everything would be fine. But it wasn't fine. I wasn't fine. I don't know if I can do this anymore, Sandra, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if I want to. Sandra didn't seem shocked. In fact, she sounded almost relieved. I understand. But before you do anything drastic, just remember, this is how it is. She'll need some time to work through this. And if you give her that space, she'll come back to you. In the meantime, just focus on providing. Focus on being the stability that she needs. I could feel the tears welling up, but I didn't let them fall. Instead, I stood up and walked over to the window, staring out at the night. Thanks for the advice, Sandra. I'll think about it. But I didn't mean it. I was done thinking. When I hung up, the weight of her words pressed on me like a vice. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Megan's own mother was telling me that this was normal, that I should just accept it. They didn't see me as a partner or an equal. I was just a provider, a placeholder, and I wasn't going to accept that anymore. I thought about calling my friends, about asking them for help, but I knew that wasn't going to be enough. This wasn't something that could be fixed with words. I needed a real plan, something bigger, something that would protect me and the kids from this toxic cycle. And I wasn't going to wait around for Megan to come to her senses. I was done being the fool, done being the safety net that no one ever appreciated until it was too late. I was going to make sure that this time I was the one who controlled the narrative. I sat in my office chair, the phone still warm in my hand from the conversation with Sandra. I didn't have a solution, but I knew I couldn't just sit here and let things happen. This wasn't going to be fixed with conversations or platitudes. I needed action, and I needed it now. My mind was spinning with ideas, but one thing was clear: I couldn't do this alone. I needed backup, serious backup, the kind of backup that knew how to get shit done without making a mess of it. I picked up my phone and dialed the first number on my list. "Cal," I said as soon as he picked up, "I need your help." "Ethan? What's up?" Cal's voice came through, rough but familiar. We'd worked together in private security for years, and I knew he could help me with anything that required stealth. "I need eyes on Megan and her mother. I'm not letting them get away with this. Can you tap into her phone? Get into her texts, calls, the works? I need to know everything." There was a pause on the other end. "You sure about this? This is serious." "I'm dead serious," I said, leaning forward, fingers drumming on the desk. "I need to know where they're going, who they're talking to." "You up for it?" "Always," he replied. "Give me a few hours. I'll have everything for you." I hung up and immediately dialed the next number. "Nick," I said when he picked up, "I need you to dig into Megan's finances and her parents. I need everything: bank accounts, credit cards, investments, the works. Anything I can use to track them or to hit them where it hurts." Nick was quiet for a moment. "You know I don't mess around when it comes to finances. You want the whole picture, right?" "Exactly," I said. "I want to know how they're hiding things, if they're hiding things. And I want to know what they've been spending their money on." "You got it," Nick replied. "I'll get started right now. Shouldn't take long." I ended the call and sat back, staring at the phone for a moment. I needed more, though. I needed muscle, and I had just the guys for the job. I dialed next. "Brent," I said when he answered, "I need you to prep the jet. I don't know when, but I'll need it ready, and I'll need you to keep it under wraps. Don't tell anyone." "Jet's ready when you need it," Brent replied, always cool, calm, and collected. He worked with me back in the day and had connections that ran deep. The guy could get anything done. "Just say the word." "I will," I said, hanging up. I knew it wasn't enough, though. Not yet. I needed the kind of help that could handle the physical side of things. I needed Rudy and Mason. Rudy picked up after the first ring. "Yeah?" "I need you and Mason on standby," I said, my voice low. "There's no telling what's going to go down, but I need you ready to handle anything that comes up. I'm not just talking about Megan. I'm talking about her whole damn family. Make sure you two are good to go." There was a pause before Rudy spoke. "You want us to move on them if it comes to that?" "No," I said, shaking my head even though he couldn't see it. "I need you ready, but don't make a move unless I tell you. But make sure they're monitored. I don't trust them." "Understood. We'll be ready." Rudy hung up. With that, the pieces were falling into place. Cal was getting eyes on Megan. Nick would find out what kind of financial hole they dug themselves into. Brent was ready with the jet, and Rudy and Mason would be standing by for whatever I decided to do. I looked at the calendar on my phone. The plan was starting to take shape. I could feel the weight of everything I was about to do, everything I was willing to do. The kids were my priority. I wasn't going to let them grow up in an environment like this, where their mother treated relationships like a game and their grandparents were just as toxic. I wasn't going to let Megan drag them into her mess. The phone rang again, pulling me out of my thoughts. I glanced at the screen. It was Cal. "Got something for you," he said when I picked up. "Megan's been texting her friends about her date night. It's not just a casual thing. She's seeing someone regularly, and her mom's in on it, encouraging it. If you want to know where they're going, I can get that too. Just give me the word." I exhaled, rubbing my eyes. The information was useful, but it wasn't enough. I needed more than just the surface. I needed to know how deep this ran. "Keep monitoring. I want everything. and I'll call you if I need anything else. I hung up, the silence in my office almost deafening now. I ran a hand through my hair, feeling the weight of the situation pressing in. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the kids, about protecting them from Megan's manipulations, from the environment she was trying to create. It was about making sure they had a real future, not one where they were caught in the middle of games played by their mother and her family. I wasn't going to let them grow up thinking this behavior was normal. They deserved more than that, and I wasn't about to back down. I stood up, pacing in the small space of my office. It was time to take control. The reinforcements were in place, and I wasn't going to wait any longer. I made a mental note to follow up with each of them later. There was no time to waste. The clock was ticking, and things were going to get messy. But I was ready for it. For the kids, I had to be. I knew the window was small, only a few hours before everything changed, and I had to be quick. The kids had to be asleep by 9 p.m. I had arranged with Sandra that I'd come by later, under the pretense of just sneaking in. She wouldn't ask questions, not now. She was too eager to get the kids in bed early, as if I couldn't see right through her. She was just a pawn in this game, and I wasn't about to let her mess this up. I leaned back in my car, parked a block away from Sandra's house, watching her front door. The shadows in the street seemed darker than usual, or maybe I was just seeing things differently tonight. My heart thudded, each beat heavy with the pressure of what I was about to do. Brent had been prepping the jet for hours, no time to waste. Rudy and Mason had been in position for a while now, watching the house, waiting for the right moment. They knew how to handle things if it came down to it. I checked my watch. 9:10 p.m. Sandra was supposed to have the kids in bed by now. No more chances. The kids would be asleep, the house would be quiet, and I could finally move. I grabbed my bag from the passenger seat, checking the contents once more. Essentials for the kids. Not much clothing, just the sentimental things. Stuffed animals, favorite books, things that mattered. A few things for me, of course, but the real priority was getting them out of here. We'd have a new life soon enough. A text buzzed on my phone. It was from Brent. "Jet's prepped, ready whenever you are." I didn't reply. I was already on my feet, heading to the house. I walked up to Sandra's front door, moving swiftly, every step deliberate. I rang the bell. Sandra opened it just wide enough to peek out, her face a mask of nervous excitement. "Ethan?" "You're early," she said, trying to sound casual, but her voice was tight, like she was holding her breath. "Kids in bed?" I asked, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. She nodded, closing the door behind me. "They're both asleep. Bill's watching TV, so everything's fine." "Good," I said, scanning the hallway. It was eerily quiet. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of it settle on my shoulders. Sandra led me down the hall, her eyes darting to the living room, where Bill sat sprawled out on the couch, watching some late-night talk show. He barely acknowledged us, his attention fixed on the TV. It was almost comical how out of touch they both were, how they thought everything was normal, how they believed I'd just go along with whatever they planned. I walked into the kitchen, keeping my tone low. "I'll take the kids now. We're leaving." Sandra's eyes widened. "What? Leave? Ethan, you can't—" "I'm not asking for your permission, Sandra," I said, cutting her off. "This is happening. Now." Bill finally looked up from the TV. He squinted, confused, but didn't say anything. Maybe he knew better than to speak up at this point. I turned to Sandra, my eyes sharp. "I've packed the kids' things. We'll be gone by the time they wake up." She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. "Not another word. I don't care what you or Megan have planned. The kids are coming with me." Sandra took a shaky step back, her gaze flicking to Bill for support. He didn't offer any. His face was flushed, like he was processing what I was saying, but still unsure if this was real. "You're making a mistake," Sandra finally said, her voice trembling. "You can't just take them. They belong here." "No," I shot back, my voice steely. "They belong with me, not in the middle of this circus." She swallowed hard, her eyes starting to water. "Ethan, please, you don't understand. Megan is she's just going through something. You're making a big mistake." I didn't flinch. "I understand perfectly. This isn't about Megan. This is about protecting my kids from a life where they think this kind of behavior is normal." She was shaking now, her hand gripping the edge of the counter as she tried to steady herself. "Please," she whispered, looking at me like she was begging for mercy. "Don't do this." I walked to the doorway, looking back one last time at Sandra and Bill. "I have emptied your accounts," I said flatly. "All of them, even the ones you thought I didn't know about. You're on your own now." Her face went pale, her mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. Bill, too, looked like he'd seen a ghost. It was too much for them to process. They thought I was just bluffing, but I wasn't. "You'll be broke in a few months," I continued, my tone unwavering. "And without me, you'll have nothing. You won't be able to track me. Not with the new names, new documents, and the plan I've already set in motion." Sandra reached out, her voice cracking. "Ethan, please, I'm begging you, don't do this." I stepped back toward the door, holding my ground. "It's too late for that, Sandra. This ends tonight." I turned, making my way down the hallway. I could hear Sandra's muffled sobs behind me, but I didn't stop. When I stepped outside, I could hear the faint hum of the engine from the private jet waiting for us. We had no time to waste. I knew what I had to do. The kids were waiting. I sat in the car, watching the darkened house through the rearview mirror. Rudy and Mason had slipped inside without a sound. The house, once so familiar, now felt like a foreign prison, a place I was ready to tear apart to get my kids out. I gripped the steering wheel, forcing myself to breathe slowly. This was it, the point of no return. I could see the lights flicker in Sandra's living room, the faint glow from the TV casting shadows on the walls. Everything was quiet, but the silence felt heavy. Every minute felt like an hour. Then the phone buzzed, Rudy's message. "Everything's clear, they're both in the kitchen." I wasn't about to give them any more time to talk their way out of this. I opened the door and got out, moving swiftly toward the front door. The moment I stepped inside, I could hear Sandra's voice, hushed but tense. Bill's low grumble followed, the two of them probably arguing over whatever nonsense they thought might happen. I walked into the kitchen without knocking. Sandra froze when she saw me, her eyes widening, her hands shaking as she quickly tried to hide the wine glass she'd been holding. Bill didn't even bother to look up. I could already feel the weight of his indifference. "Ethan," Sandra said, her voice tight, trying to smile. It wasn't a real smile. It was desperate. "I didn't expect you." I cut her off. "It's over, Sandra." I moved closer to the table, leaning against the edge, feeling the tension pulse between us. "I know everything. I know you've been helping Megan hide things from me. I know all about your little scheme." She blinked at me, confusion flickering in her eyes, but there was something else beneath it, a touch of guilt. But she wasn't going to back down easily. "You can't just—" she started, but I didn't let her finish. "I already have," I said. "I've emptied every account you thought you could use to track us down. I've been planning this for a while." Her mouth went dry, and she glanced at Bill, but he still hadn't moved from his seat. He wasn't even looking at us. It was as if he'd already decided this was happening, and he was too weak to stop it. Sandra took a slow step back, her hand reaching out for something, anything, but there was nothing she could grab onto to stop this. She swallowed. "You can't take the kids like this. They'll be fine here. They belong with us." "No, Sandra," I said, shaking my head. "They don't belong with you. You've been enabling this circus, and I won't let them grow up thinking this kind of behavior is normal." I looked at Bill. Finally, he lifted his gaze, but it wasn't anger or even surprise. It was exhaustion, as if he had already given up trying to fix this. I had no sympathy for either of them. "I'm taking them, and you're never going to see them again. Don't even think about following me. I've already covered my tracks. You won't be able to find us." Sandra's face paled as she opened her mouth, but no words came out. She looked at Bill again, as if hoping for a response from him, but he was silent. "You don't understand, Ethan. You can't just—" she stammered, trying again to make sense of the situation. But this time, I didn't give her a chance. "I'm done listening to you both," I said. "I'm taking the kids, and you'll be too broke to do anything about it. You'll have nothing." Her eyes narrowed, frustration taking over. "You can't threaten us. You won't do anything," I said, my voice firm. "You're not going to be able to track us. You've got nothing left. I've already drained your accounts, both the ones you know about and the ones you thought were safe. You're done." Her jaw tightened, and I could see her hands trembling as she clenched them into fists. But she knew it was over. There was nothing left to fight for. Bill spoke up for the first time, his voice hoarse. "Ethan, please. This is too far." I shook my head. "You don't get it, Bill. You never did. You let this happen. You stood by while Megan did whatever she wanted, and you did nothing. Well, now it's my turn. I'm taking the kids, and there's nothing you can do about it." Sandra opened her mouth, and I could see the tears starting to form in her eyes. But the pleading wasn't going to work this time. I was done. "I'll give you some time to think about it," I said, turning toward the door. "You'll figure it out. But don't try to make this into something it's not. You had your chance." I turned on my heel and walked back toward the door. Behind me, Sandra was still standing there, frozen. Bill hadn't moved, but I could feel the weight of their silence pressing down on me as I left the house. I stepped back into the night, my mind already focused on the next step. The kids. I had to get them. We were leaving tonight. No more waiting, no more games. It was time to move. I walked down the hallway toward the kids' room, my heart pounding in my chest. This was the moment, the one where everything changed. I had to be careful, quiet. They were still half asleep, groggy from the sudden wake-up call, but they needed to be up and moving. I didn't want them to be scared. They'd never understand the full weight of what was happening, but I had to do this. I had to protect them. I opened the door softly. Both of them were in their beds, tangled in blankets, their faces peaceful for now. Liza was the first to stir, rubbing her eyes. Max was still snoring lightly, the sound of his breathing soft and rhythmic. "Hey guys," I said, my voice calm but with urgency beneath it. "We're going on a trip." Liza blinked up at me, still groggy. "Where's Mommy?" she mumbled, half waking. "She's not coming with us," I said, trying to sound gentle. "We're going to a new place. You're going to love it." Max groggily rolled over, his eyes squinting at the light from the hallway. "What about Grandma and Grandpa?" "They're not coming either," I said, my throat tightening. "We're going somewhere safe, just the three of us." Liza sat up a little, still confused but excited. "A new place? Like a vacation?" "Yeah, like that," I said, trying to smile. I didn't want to explain more, not yet. Not until they were in a safe spot. I needed them to trust me, to not be scared. I turned to grab the bag I'd packed for them, and Max sat up fully now, the drowsiness from earlier lifting. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice still slurred from sleep. "We're going to a special place. I can't tell you exactly yet, but it's going to be great. Just trust me, okay?" They both nodded, Liza already bouncing off the bed. Max was still rubbing his eyes, but following her lead. I grabbed their little backpacks, filled with the toys and keepsakes they'd want, and handed them over to each of them. "Grab these, let's get ready to go. We don't have much time." I could hear the faint hum of the car engine outside, a steady reminder that the plan was in motion. Brent was ready at the airstrip. Rudy had already set up the decoy with my car at the motel. Every detail was falling into place. "Okay, let's go," I said, moving toward the door. I led them out into the hallway, moving as quietly as I could, making sure no one in the house would hear us. The last thing I wanted was for Sandra or Bill to wake up and stop us now. We stepped into the cool night air, the stars still visible in the sky. The car was waiting in front of the house, parked under a streetlight. I opened the back door for them, one after the other. They climbed in, still half finished with their morning confusion, but too young to understand the gravity of it all. I shut the door behind them, took a deep breath, and glanced around to make sure no one had noticed us. There was no sign of movement inside the house. It was eerily quiet. Rudy pulled up in a beat-up old sedan, the kind that wouldn't attract attention. "All set," he said with a quick nod, his eyes scanning the street. Mason was already positioned up the road, keeping a lookout for anything that could go wrong. I glanced at the kids through the rearview mirror. Liza was already staring out the window, watching the world pass by, and Max had his toy truck in hand, turning it over in his fingers, as if trying to make sense of the situation. The drive to the private airstrip felt longer than it should have. Maybe it was just the weight of everything, the last chance I'd have to look back at the life I was leaving behind. But I couldn't afford to think about that now. The kids needed me, and that's what mattered. At the airstrip, Brent was waiting for us, standing by the sleek jet. It looked too clean, too polished for what we were doing. This wasn't a vacation, it wasn't a fresh start. This was an escape. "Everything's set," Brent said, his face serious as he opened the door to the jet. "We've got a short window. Let's go." I nodded and turned back to the kids. "This is it. We're going to be in a new place. No more worrying. You're safe with me. Okay?" They both nodded, still trying to make sense of it, but I could see the excitement creeping in. They were kids after all. They didn't need to know the details. All they needed to know was that I was there, and I wasn't going to let anything happen to them. I helped them climb up the steps into the jet, securing them both in their seats. I buckled them in, made sure they were comfortable, then took the seat next to them. "We'll be flying for a little while. I know it's weird, but you're going to love it," I said, my voice soft, trying to reassure them. Max looked up at me, his eyes wide, a little bit of excitement starting to show. "Is it like a real airplane?" "Yep," I said with a grin, trying to sound as excited as I could. "It's our airplane now." The jet's engines roared to life, and the familiar hum of the engines vibrated beneath us. As we lifted off the ground, I watched the lights of the city disappear below us, the weight of everything slowly lifting. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt like I was in control. And as the plane soared higher into the night sky, I couldn't help but wonder what the future would hold. It was around 3 a.m. when Megan returned, the sound of her heels clicking against the floor, echoing through the silence of the house. She was probably expecting me to be sulking, maybe even waiting for her to come back so she could deliver that smug little line about how she needs to be herself. I wasn't home, my truck was gone, and I imagine she thought I just went out to cool off, nothing more than a quick little tantrum to deal with her nonsense. She probably assumed I was going to sit around and wait for her to get back, like I had done in the past. I was done with that, though. I was on the move now. She made her way into the house, probably heading straight for the kitchen, thinking nothing had changed. But by morning, everything would be different. Everything would be gone, and she would finally realize just how serious I was. I made my way to the private airstrip as planned. The kids were still sleeping, unaware of what was really going on. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the thought that Megan would figure it out sooner or later. And she did. The next morning, around 8:30 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a missed call from Megan, followed by 3 more. I didn't pick up. Then came a text. "Where are the kids? Why are they not at Grandma and Grandpa's?" She had to know something was wrong. The fact that she was checking in on the kids so early, after being out all night, confirmed that she was already worried. That was her mistake, thinking I wouldn't take the steps necessary to protect them. By noon, I was watching the phone ring again. She was getting desperate. Finally, I picked up. "What the hell, Ethan?" Megan's voice was sharp, demanding, full of that arrogance she always carried. "Where are the kids? Why didn't you drop them off?" I didn't give her the satisfaction of responding right away. "They're not with you anymore," I said, my voice calm, but with a steel edge she hadn't heard in a while. "What?" she spat. "What the hell do you mean? Where are they?" "They're with me, Megan. I've got them," I said, each word deliberate, as if to hammer home the point. "Don't pull this shit with me, Ethan," she snapped. "Where are they? I'll come get them. No," I cut her off. "You won't. You're not getting them. Not anymore. You lost that privilege a long time ago." Her silence on the other end was deafening, and for a moment, I thought maybe she was processing it. Maybe she was finally understanding the weight of her actions. But then the anger flared. "What the hell is this, Ethan?" Her voice was rising now, jagged and wild. "What are you talking about? I don't care what game you're playing, I'm coming to get them. You think you can just keep them from me? You think I don't know what's been going on?" I said, my voice hardening. "I know everything, about you, about your mother. You're just a pawn in this, Megan. I'm not going to sit by and let you drag them into your mess anymore." Her voice shifted, a venomous sweetness creeping into it. "Ethan, come on, let's just talk. I don't want to fight with you. This is about the kids. You know we can work this out. Just tell me where they are. Please." I could almost hear her smirking through the phone, trying to sweet-talk me back into submission. It wouldn't work. "You don't get it, Megan," I said, my voice lowering. "You had your chance. I've made sure you'll never find them. We've changed names. We've got new documents. You won't get near them." Her silence was back. It hung there for a long time, the kind of silence that's filled with disbelief and anger. Finally, she found her voice again, this time laced with fury. "You can't do this. I'll find you, I swear to God. I'll find you and the kids, and I'll make sure you regret this." I laughed, a bitter sound that tasted like ash. "No, you won't, Megan. You won't find us. No records, no trail, no familiar names. It's over." The realization hit her. I could hear it in the way her breath caught, the desperation creeping in. "I'm serious," she continued, her voice trembling now. "Please, just let me come and get them. I swear I'll change. I'll fix things. I'll make it right." I could almost feel the manipulation seeping through the phone, But this time, I wasn't fooled. I wasn't going to fall for it. You made your choice, I said, cutting her off again. You don't get to play the change card now. I've made my choice too. My priority is protecting the kids, Megan, and you've shown me exactly who you are. There was a long pause before she spoke again. The anger had shifted into something else, something dark and panicked. I'll find you, she muttered. I'll track you down. You can't hide from me forever. I didn't respond. Instead, I let the silence hang there, let it fester. Goodbye, Megan, I finally said, pressing the end call button before she could say anything else. I stared at the phone in my hand, my pulse still racing. It was over. There was no going back now. I was still sitting in the back of the jet, watching the clouds roll past when my phone buzzed. I knew who it was before I even looked at the screen. Megan. I let it ring for a few moments before answering. Where are the kids, Ethan? She demanded, her voice sharp with frustration. Why aren't they at my parents' house? What the hell is going on? I leaned back in my seat, trying to keep my voice steady. They're with me, I said flatly. Don't pull that shit with me. Where are they? She repeated, her tone growing angrier. I'll come get them. I don't know what game you're playing, but it's over. Tell me where they are. I could feel the rage simmering under her words, but I wasn't intimidated, not anymore. You don't have them anymore, Megan. I do. I took them, and they're not coming back. What? Number? What the hell is this, Ethan? She snapped. You think you can just take them from me? I'm their mother. I cut her off. You don't get to play the mother card anymore. You've lost that right. You're too wrapped up in whatever bullshit you're doing to even realize what you've been doing to them. To me. There was a long pause on the other end. I could almost hear her trying to come up with something to say, something to get control back. She'd always been good at that, but I wasn't falling for it this time. Ethan, come on, she tried, her voice lowering, almost sweet. Let's just talk about this. It's not too late to fix things. You don't have to take them from me. We can work this out. I'll change, I swear. Just tell me where they are. I felt my stomach turn, but I didn't let it show. I know everything, Megan. Everything your mother told me. I know about the men, about how you've been living your little fantasy while I've been paying the bills and holding everything together. I'm done with it. I'm done being your provider. She didn't say anything for a moment, and I could tell she was processing it. Finally, she spoke again, her voice cracking, but the anger was back. You think you're so clever, don't you? You really think you can just disappear with them and I won't find you? You think I'll just let you take them? I'll make you regret this, Ethan. I will. I didn't flinch. You won't find us. You can't. We've changed everything. New names, new documents. You won't be able to track us. You're not the priority anymore. You're fucking crazy, she spat. I will find you. I'll make sure of it. You're not going to get away with this. I could hear her breathing heavily through the phone, the sound of her rage palpable. She was lashing out now, knowing she'd lost control. You've already lost, Megan, I said, my voice calm, almost detached. This isn't just about me. It's about the kids. I'm protecting them from you, from your behavior. You made your choice when you decided to live like this. This is on you. I could hear her trying to regain control of her emotions. But it was too late. The desperation was clear in her voice now. Please, Ethan, I can change. I swear. Just one more chance. I'll make it right. You'll see. I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped my lips. You don't get it, do you? You think I'm going to believe that? I know you. I've seen this act before. You made your choice, and now the kids and I have to live with it. And you're never going to get us back. She screamed my name, a mixture of anger and desperation, but I didn't feel anything. I'd already made my decision. I'm not doing this anymore, Megan, I said, my voice harder now. You're not a part of their lives anymore, and I'm not going to let you drag them into your mess. There was nothing left for her to say. I'll find you, she whispered, but there was no conviction behind it now, just panic. You can't hide forever. I shook my head. You won't find us. No records, no trail, no familiar names. You're not a part of our lives anymore. There was one last, desperate attempt. I'll change. I'll do whatever it takes. I swear I let out a deep sigh. You made your choice a long time ago. You don't get to change now. The call ended with her yelling my name, but I didn't care anymore. I threw the phone into the ocean. Let it go. Let her go. The weight that lifted off my chest was undeniable. I wasn't looking back. Not now, not ever. The kids were sleeping soundly in the cabin, unaware of everything that had just transpired. I wasn't going to let them live in that kind of chaos anymore. I was going to give them the stability they deserved, and with that, I felt the finality of my decision settle in. There was no going back. I stood there, gripping the phone in my hand as Megan's angry words echoed in my ears. The desperation was unmistakable. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe I was actually serious. She thought she could just twist me back around, get me to soften, get me to come crawling back into the mess she created. "You can't do this, Ethan," she shouted, her voice frantic now. "I'm their mother. I'm the one who's supposed to be with them. You can't just take them from me." I didn't flinch. My heart wasn't racing anymore. The panic, the fear, the guilt. Gone. She'd played her hand, and it was too late. "You don't have kids anymore, Megan," I said quietly, my voice cutting through her rant. "You made your choice. You didn't want a family. You wanted to play games. Well, now I'm playing for keeps. I'm protecting the kids from this, from you, and you're not part of their lives anymore." There was a silence on the other end, a long, drawn-out pause, and for a moment, I thought maybe she was letting it sink in. Then came the sweetness, that manipulative tone she always used to soften the blow. "Ethan, come on, let's talk. You know I'm doing this for us. I'll change. I'll make things right. You know I can." I didn't buy it, not this time. "No, you won't," I said, my voice firm. "You're not going to change. You've had all the chances. You've shown me who you really are, and I won't let the kids be raised in that environment, not anymore, not while you're out there doing whatever you want with other men." She gasped, a sharp intake of breath like I had slapped her. Then came the anger, the raw rage spilling out. "You're a fool, Ethan. You think this is going to end well for you? You think I'll let you take them and get away with it? You're not going to find us, Megan," I said, cutting through her bluster. "I've already made sure of that. We're using new names, new documents. You won't get near us. You'll never track us down." I let that sit in the silence for a moment, the finality of it. Her voice cracked. "I'll find you. I'll make sure of it. You can't just take my kids and hide them away. I'm their mother." I heard her crying now, the sobs heavy with the realization that she wasn't going to get her way. But I didn't feel bad. She hadn't cared about the kids. She cared about control, and she'd lost it. "You made your choice," I said, my tone unwavering. "And you've lost. This isn't just about me taking the kids. It's about them having a shot at a real life, a stable life, without your drama, without your lies." She was sputtering now, her words coming faster, more frantic. "You think I won't find you? You think you're going to get away with this? You can't keep me away from them forever, Ethan." I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. "Yes, I can. No records, no trail. You won't find us. You can scream and threaten all you want, but the kids are mine now, and you've lost your chance." I could feel her presence over the phone, the force of her anger pushing through the connection. She was still trying to manipulate me, still trying to make me feel guilty. But it was too late. She wasn't going to change, and neither was I. "I'll make you regret this, Ethan," she snarled. "You'll wish you never—" "I've already moved on, Megan," I interrupted. "And so have the kids. This is what's best for them, and I'm not looking back." There was a long pause, and for the first time I could tell that she didn't know what to say. The realization hit her that there was no going back, that this wasn't just a fight, a temporary struggle. This was the end. I could almost hear the collapse in her voice when she spoke next, quieter, as if she was still trying to come up with something. "Please, just one more chance. I'll change. I swear I'll change for the kids." But I knew better than to believe it. "No," I said firmly, the decision final. "You made your choice. I made mine. And it's over." I didn't wait for another response. I didn't want to hear it. I pressed the button and ended the call. The moment it ended, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief because it was done. There was no more back and forth, no more games. It was over. And sadness because, in some way, it still felt like a loss. A loss of the family I thought I had, the family I once tried to protect. But that was the past. And there was no going back. I stared at the phone in my hand, the weight of it all pressing down on me, but I didn't let it break me. I couldn't. Not now. I had the kids to protect, and that was all that mattered. I tossed the phone into the ocean. Let it go. Let her go. There was no more connection, no more strings, just freedom. And for the first time, I felt like I had control over my own life again. The plane touched down with a soft rumble, and as the wheels met the tarmac, a wave of finality washed over me. We had arrived. The kids stirred in their seats, wide-eyed with excitement, the unfamiliar surroundings taking their attention. It was all new to them, and for that, I was grateful. They wouldn't fully understand yet, but this was the beginning of something better. I looked out the window, taking in the landscape, different from anything I'd seen before. The airport was small but secure. Brent's company had connections all over the world, and this property was off the grid, exactly what we needed. "We're here, guys," I said, turning to the kids in the back. "This is our new home." Liza bounced in her seat, eyes wide. "Are we staying here forever?" I smiled, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "Yes, we're staying here. We're safe, and you're going to like it." Max, always the quiet one, tilted his head, taking in the view outside. "Will Mommy come here too?" My stomach tightened at the question, but I didn't let it show. I had to be strong for them. "No, Max, Mommy won't be joining us here. We won't be seeing her or Grandpa and Grandma anymore." Liza's face fell for a moment, but then she brightened, her curiosity taking over again. "Can we see the plane up close?" I chuckled, relieved at her ability to shift focus so easily. "Of course. Let's go take a look." The flight crew was already unloading the bags as I helped the kids out of the plane. They ran toward the wing, excited, their voices echoing in the open space. I walked over to them, careful to keep a low profile, keeping the kids engaged as the transition began. We spent the next hour touring the secure property where we'd be living. The house was modest but modern, nestled away from the nearest town, surrounded by hills and trees. There was space for the kids to run, a small garden, and a few other essentials. It wasn't a palace, but it would be ours. It was a far cry from the chaos we'd left behind. "Do you think we'll make new friends?" Liza asked as we walked through the garden, her small hand in mine. "Absolutely," I said, squeezing her hand. "You'll make friends, and you're going to have everything you need right here." Max was already exploring the yard, checking out the swing set, the treehouse, and the small shed out back. I watched him, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. This was the life I'd been hoping to give them, safe, stable, and away from the mess Megan and her family had created. As we walked through the house, I noticed a small pile of school books on the table, something already arranged by Brent to help the kids settle in. "School's going to start soon," I told them. "We'll find a good school for you, something close by." The kids were already adjusting, their minds racing with the possibilities of their new life. The change was happening, and I could feel it in my bones. This was the start of something better. Later, as we sat around a small kitchen table, eating the meal Brent had arranged for us, I thought about the life I'd left behind. Megan, Sandra, the endless cycle of lies, manipulation, and broken promises. They were all in the past now. I didn't regret my choice, not for a second. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe. I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wondering when the next betrayal would come. The kids were safe. They would have the stable, loving home they deserved. I glanced at them, both of them laughing and chattering about the things they'd do tomorrow, and I felt something shift inside me. This was the life I had fought for, and I wasn't going to let anyone take it from me. No matter what Megan thought, no matter how hard she tried to find us, this was it. We were starting fresh, no more looking back, and that felt like freedom.